Well, a very, very happy Friday morning, and welcome to the John Quintero Show on YouTube, San Diego Sports Talk. We gather each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9:30 and touch on everything going on that we need to talk about regarding San Diego sports. And again, I urge you, if you've not subscribed to the channel, and maybe this is your first time tuning in, very much appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our program. And we'll also hit you with notifications prior to us coming on the air. So make sure you turn your notifications on. You can follow me at John Quintero on Facebook, John Quintero on Facebook, and Coach Quintero 44 on X. We've got a fun show today as we get ready to roll into another big weekend. We do have Aztec football tonight at Snapdragon Stadium. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. We have our one guest today, going to be our regular Friday guest, John Maffei from the San Diego Union Tribune. We're going to talk Padres with John today. We're going to talk Aztecs with him. We're going to talk about the first night of high school football playoffs in America's finest city. But very happy you joined us today. And we're going to get right into the Padres. I spent a lot of time yesterday. You know what's really interesting? We do this show Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I find myself on Tuesday and Thursday spending an inordinate amount of time trying to track down stories in San Diego. Not being on the radio 5 days a week was one thing, but now doing this YouTube show, it's been very interesting. It's been very educational, and I'm finding myself that I'm working quite a bit to track things down. And this time of year, for baseball fans, this is a fun time, folks. This is a really, really fun time because this is when your organization goes about trying to put a championship product on the field in the spring. And you've got to figure out, if you're going to go into the free agent market, who you're losing, who you want to go after, is there anybody you want to trade? This is where you put everything into place to build a championship ball club or add to a championship ball club. And then, you get the season started after spring training and you go along, and then you get to the trading deadline. And then another opportunity to add to build to what you hope will be a championship ball club. But right now, there are a lot of things going on. And we're going to start right here with what we talked about on Wednesday. And that's that the Padres were working on a deal to extend Mike Shildt. Well, after we got off the air on Wednesday, the deal came down. And Mike Shildt deserved it. He earned it. I'm a big guy, earning contracts the old-fashioned way by hard work, determination, perseverance, and getting the job done. And he got the job done. And like I've said before, we could sit here and we could pick apart, well, why didn't he hit this guy for this guy in the eighth inning? Or why didn't they bunt? Why didn't they steal? Why did he bring this guy in? How come that guy didn't pitch? That's part of baseball. Okay, anybody that has ever swung a baseball bat at the Easter picnic thinks they know something about baseball. But that's why people love the game of baseball. There's a lot to talk about. And it's pretty much once the season starts, it's like every day. You don't play every day, but even when you get beat on a Thursday afternoon, you're talking about what happened there, but now you got another game on Friday night. Or you play on Sunday and get beat, and you got an off day, and everybody's picking their brain. How the hell did they lose that game? They were up by 3 runs in the eighth inning. I mean, baseball is great, man. You got to turn the page, though. And the Padres are turning the page, but now they're going to be turning the page knowing that their manager is going to be here under contract through 2027. In fact, he's got a year longer now than the general manager, A.J. Preller, whose contract runs out after the 2026 season. But good job by the Padres to get that taken care of. The other thing that I really enjoyed hearing from Mike Shildt, because I'm a big guy about being loyal to your lieutenants. He said before he wanted to get his contract extension done, he wanted to talk about the guys that helped him along the way, the Ruben Nieblas, the Victor Rodriguez, all the coaches on the staff and the support staff. He wanted to know what their status was. And the Padres now are working on that. You get to the coaching staff, I think everybody's going to be back. Unless they get a better job somewhere else, they're all going to be back. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But Ruben Nieblas in the meetings they're having right now, his contract is run out. but they're going to get a deal with him. I would think that they would probably try to match him up with Mike Shildt. Give him a 3-year deal. What do you got to lose? You know he's a proven commodity. Give him a 3-year deal. Pay him in the middle of what pitching coaches get. I don't think he's going to, get a contract to make him the highest paid pitching coach in baseball. But I would imagine when they brought him in, it was, probably towards the lower end, the lower third of pitching coaches in baseball. But he's proved himself. He's done a great job. Victor Rodriguez, who came over from the same organization the Padres got, Ruben Niebla, Cleveland, did a great job. Got guys to buy in, hit the ball the other way, shorten up your swing with 2 strikes, put the ball in play, limit the strikeouts. Did a hell of a job. And if the guys will continue to buy into it, I'm not sure they bought into it in that Dodger series because I saw a lot of guys swinging for the fences. But if he can get those guys to dial it back and get it back to what it was most of the regular season, then we got a great group of hitters. We got guys that put the ball in play for the most part. And Victor Rodriguez got 1 year, so he'd be done right now at the end of the 2025 season. Why not tack on a couple of more years to him? Let's have Mike Shildt, Ruben Niebla, and Victor Rodriguez all under contract through 2027. Does that make sense to you? Give me your thoughts on that. Okay, now AJ Preller was very, very busy this week, folks. Very busy. Him and some of his assistants, they were over at the general managers meetings. And you know what? I think they do their due diligence. I'll be very honest with you. I think the Padres are going to have to make trades. I don't see them bringing in free agents. They just don't have the payroll flexibility. Now, AJ said that he's going to meet with the Padre ownership. That means Eric Katsenda, the team chairman who took over for Peter Seidler. And by the way, yesterday was Peter Seidler's birthday. So, we wished him a happy heavenly birthday yesterday. But his fingerprints are all over this roster, And Peter had the vision to go out there and build a franchise that could win a world championship. But the other thing that Peter had, I remember before he ever hired AJ Preller, and I met with him at a restaurant here in San Diego before he hired AJ, and wanted my thoughts on the organization. And his goal, after I told him what I thought of the organization, where they were at with the minor leagues and, what was going on, he goes, John, my vision is to make the Padres competitive. It's going to take a while. I understand that, but I want them to be competitive to where, we might not be winning division titles, but we can get into the playoffs and we can be contenders 4 out of 5 years. He goes, every once in a while, and I totally agree, you're going to have a bad year. Guys get hurt or guys don't perform, and you're going to have a bad year. But if you can go to the playoffs 4 out of 5 years or 3 out of 5, that's pretty damn good. And the Padres right now are working their way towards that. I mean, there's no question about it. And Peter Seidler did a hell of a job. And I got to give Ron Fowler a lot of credit as well. And AJ Preller, even though he's had a lot of swings and misses, he's in a hot streak right now. He is by far, not even close. Best year he ever had as a general manager was his past year. Every move that he made was incredible. Did a great job. You knew you had to trade Juan Soto. He got the job done. He got some great pieces back. Great pieces. Then he takes Drew Thorpe, who was a young pitcher who had done a great job, in the minor leagues, and he trades him to the White Sox and gets Dylan Cease. And then he works a deal with the Marlins to get Luis Ariz. And not only does he get Luis Ariz, he gets the Marlins to pay the salary for this past year. I mean, and then he picks up David Peralta, Donovan Solano. Everything worked. Now, this next year, who knows? Maybe everything goes sideways. You never know. One season to the next, you never know. But he said that they're going to meet Eric Katsenda and CEO Eric Grupner. They're going to meet. And they're going to try to have a better understanding of where they're going to be at payroll. And I mentioned I work a lot on Tuesday and Thursdays getting ready for our shows. I went back in time here a little bit, and I want to share this with you a little bit because the Padres they're doing everything possible to bring a world championship to San Diego. And you know what? They've put their money where their mouth is. And I went back over the last few years of the kind of money that they've spent. Now, this past year, they They cut their payroll down, and they were 15th in baseball this last year at $171 million they spent. After everything, the 40-man roster and all that, it was $171 million. Okay, but prior to that, and I want you to let these numbers kind of sink in and soak in. And the last 4 years, the Padres had been in the top 10 prior to this last year. You go back to 2020, the pandemic year. And I know, salaries weren't what they were because you only played 60 games, but they spent $76 million in 2020. That was sixth in baseball. Then in 2021, $184 million, seventh in baseball. 2022, $221 million, fifth in baseball. And then in 2023, they spent $257 million, and they were third in baseball. I knew the Padres could not sustain that kind of money. And then you got to deal with this year with our players, salary arbitration players. You got some contracts where money is going to escalate up, and it's going to be over 200 million right now. I thought it'd be around 200, but from what I hear, it's going to be a little over 200 million, and that's without Jerks and Profar, without Ha-Seong Kim, without Kyle Higashioka, whoever else you want to bring in. So I think the only way the Padres are going to really be able to upgrade this ball club is via trade. And there's guys out there that are still very affordable. You're going to have to give up what you have left in your farm system. And I don't know if that means Ethan Salas and Leo DeVries. Well, I think the Padres are going to do everything possible to try to hang on to those guys. The one thing about DeVries, though, where's he going to play? Where's he going to play? He's 18 years of age. All your guys, you got all these guys under long-term contracts. You got Bogart's going to be here till 2033. You got Cronenworth right now going to be here through 2030, who can play second base. I don't know where Bogarts is going to play. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But AJ is going to meet with ownership next week and try to sort this thing out. And then, of course, they have the winter meetings in December. And that's when, trades start happening, free agency starts to kick in. Just one side note on Juan Soto. I really don't think the Dodgers are in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. I really don't. The Dodgers are rumored to get this guy, that guy, and 38 other guys. They'll probably get Roki Sasaki if he gets posted. They may get Willie Adames. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I think Soto ends up either with the Mets, Yankees, or the San Francisco Giants. And the Giants will probably be the bridesmaid once again. They're never the bride. They're always the bridesmaid. I think he probably ends up with the New York Mets, because I'm going to tell you something. I think the Yankees are going to basically tell him, hey, this is what we got, and if not, they're going to move on. I don't think the Yankees are going to wait around forever on Juan Soto. And apparently Soto is going to meet next week in Southern California with the New York Mets. Stephen Cohen, their owner, apparently is going to fly out and meet with Soto and his agent, Scott Boras. But, Soto, it's going to be interesting to see, because you know what? He's 20, going on 26. He's 25, going on 26. Very average at best outfielder. And at 31, he could be a DH. I mean, do you want to pay a DH for a decade plus? I don't think so. He's not Ohtani, okay? He's not Ohtani. Okay, I want to get to the Padre free agents. And I'm going to start with Ha-Seong Kim. Ha-Seong Kim coming off a labrum tear, not sure of his timetable of when he's going to be ready to jump back into action. I think he's a guy that keeps himself in pretty good shape. He'll do whatever it takes to get back on the field. I think he and Jerks and Profar have played their way out of San Diego. From what I hear, the Giants, now think about this. Buster Posey, and I really believe this, Buster Posey is not going to get hung out to dry by the ownership of the San Francisco Giants. He's their fair-haired son up there. Okay, they think he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not so sure he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's won a lot of awards, but he didn't play all that long. And, his last few years. I know he hit for a decent average, but power numbers went down, and that's a whole other story when we get into the Hall of Fame talk someday. But I'm going to tell you, they're not going to allow him to fail. They're gonna break the bank to help him out. They want him to look good, and apparently they're going with both feet, jumping in on Ha-Seong Kim. Now, Ha-Seong Kim, I mentioned the other day, kind of the early projections were that he would get a 3-year deal for about $8 million a year. Okay, about 3 years, $24 million. I think the Padres could handle that if they wanted to, but I think you'll get more. I think you'll probably get $15 million a year. He may get a 3-year, $45 million deal. The Padres couldn't handle that. Couple of things about Ha-Seong Kim that resonate with him and the Giants. Number one, Bob Melvin managed him 2 years here in San Diego and absolutely loved him. Teammates love the guy. He fit in here in San Diego like a glove. He was fantastic. They liked him right from day one. Okay, but you've got a guy that has managed you for 2 years. You know how he's going to use you, and Bob Melvin loves him. The second thing is Jung-Hoo Lee, who they brought over a year ago from the KBO, is like best friends with Ha-Seong Kim. And they played on 2 different teams in the KBO, and then they played in the World Baseball Classic for their national team. And when Jung-Hoo Lee, who got hurt last year, you recall, but he's healthy now and he's back working out. When he signed with the Giants, the first call he made was to Ha-Seong Kim here in San Diego and said, "Hey, I'm going to be a San Francisco Giant." So you got some things working in the Giants' favor. Bob Melvin's managed him, loves him. Ha-Seong Kim loved Bob Melvin. And then his best friends on the team, the center fielder, Jung-Hoo Lee. So I think he's as good as gone. Now, the other team that's going to be looking for a shortstop is the Milwaukee Brewers and Willie Adames. It looks like he's gone, and we've heard, a variety of different stories on him, but the hottest one is that he would go to the Dodgers. Surprise, surprise, surprise. We'll have to wait and see on that. So I think Ha-Seong Kim's as good as gone. I just don't think the Padres are going to be able to afford him. And then Jerks and Profar, I mentioned the other day the Kansas City Royals are interested in him. There could be some other big-name teams going after him. I've heard the Phillies are kicking tires. They're thinking about maybe trading Brandon Marsh because he's going to start getting a little bit more expensive. But yesterday I heard the projections for Profar are even more than I thought. I had said the other day, 3 years, $45 million. Now I'm hearing, he could get a 3-year deal and it could be anywhere near 12 to 16 million. So 16 million would be basically a 3-year deal, 48 million. There's no way the Padres can pay him that. And again, you're also banking that Profar is going to come back and be the same guy he was a year ago in 2024, where he had a career year and he hit 280. He hit 24 bombs and drove in a ton of runs and had a great on-base percentage. I don't know if I can bank on that. He's a 245 career hitter in 10 years in the big leagues. I don't think I can go that direction, and I don't think the Padres can afford that. Padres need more pitching. They need more pitching. Okay, I want to go around the diamond, and I want your opinion. We're going to have John Maffei on here at 10 o'clock this morning. But we're going to get, after that, we'll get to some of your questions, but I want you to start typing them in right now. And we're going to go around the diamond, and we're going to start in left field. Left field's a question mark. Padres don't have anybody in the minor leagues they can stick out there right now. Okay, they don't. So you're going to have to spend some money on left field, unless you go out and sign David Peralta, to a bargain basement deal and give him $8 million. And I'd like Peralta back, but he can't be your everyday guy. So maybe that becomes a platoon position with 2 journeyman ball players. You tell me what you would do in left field. That's the first question I would have for you. You type in and tell me what you do in left field. Center field, we got an all-star. Right field, we got an all-star. Nothing to talk about. Jackson Merrill, continue to work hard, should get better, going to get stronger. You're going to get that man strength. And the guy hit 24 home runs. Nobody expected that. I didn't, you didn't, and I don't think Jackson Merrill expected that. But he's going to get better. I just hope he doesn't come back and try to look at his stat sheet from 2024 and compare it and try to do better. Just come back and play baseball the way you do. Okay, he was a hell of a player, hell of a teammate, fit in well, acted like a veteran, played like a veteran. Probably tried to do a little bit too much like the other guys did in that series against the Dodgers as things started to tighten up. And then you got Fernando. Fernando, fantastic. And again, I keep praying. I keep praying that Fernando will play an entire season. Don't give me 162 games. Give me 150. Give me 150 games next year. And let's see what kind of numbers this guy can put up. And get back. Hopefully that hip's healthy and he can start running again, because he could be just a great catalyst. And I still think, I don't know what you think, I still like to see him lead off. I really would. It's kind of like Ohtani. They lead Ohtani off because they want it to be 1-0 in the first inning, and they're hoping Ohtani can take one out of the yard before the second batter ever steps in the batter's box. I would love to see Fernando back in that leadoff spot. And the reason why, to me, and maybe it's only me, you tell me, because this is an interactive show, I think he plays with higher energy when he's a leadoff guy. It just seems like he's more engaged. Is that me, or am I dreaming on that? You tell me. Okay, so we got a question mark in left. We got an all-star in center, and we got an all-star in right. No question about it. Now we go around the diamond. We'll start at third base. Manny Machado locked up to 2033. Okay, we're going to see Manny in his early 40s still playing the hot corner, probably DH or play first by then. But Manny's under a long-term contract. Now we go to shortstop. Major question mark. What are you going to do? I don't know if you have much of a choice other than ask Xander Bogaerts, hey, get in the best shape of your life and you're going to be our everyday shortstop. Where are they going to go? I mean, there's nobody out there in the free agent market that's worth a damn that you want to sign. And if you did sign them, number one, they're not as good as what you had, and they're not going to get the job done. And you're paying them through the nose. I mean, the shortstops are just ridiculous. The only way you're going to get a shortstop, if you're not going to go with Bogaerts, is through a trade. And who the hell are you going to trade? Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute. Second base, you got a question mark. Bogaerts can play second base. If you keep Cronenworth, you put him at second base, and you let Arise this year play first base. But Arise for me is the DH. Okay, probably the DH for me. Okay, so up the middle right now, you got a question mark at short, and you got a question mark at second base. Now, let's go to first base, because I definitely have an opinion on this. And I don't want this to sound bad, because I like this guy a great deal, and that's Jake Cronenworth. Cronenworth's a good dude. He plays hard, but I think it might be time for the Padres to go a different direction. When I look at Jake's numbers this past year, they were okay. They were okay. But the last 3 months, he faded down the stretch. I'm going to share with you the numbers. And the other number I'm going to share with you is he's under a 7-year deal right now, $80 million through 2030. Jake Cronenworth's going to be turning 31 January 21st. Okay, so you've got him under contract for a while. I guess my question to you, could you keep Cronenworth at first base? Yeah, you could, because really when you break that contract down, it's fairly affordable. But because it's fairly affordable, it's very tradable. And I think you've got to upgrade first base. I mean, I look at Cronenworth's numbers this past year, 241, 17 bombs, 83 RBIs. Postseason, he was dismal. 3 for 22. He hit 136 in 7 games with no RBIs. He's your first baseman. He had a triple. That was one of his 3 hits. And then I go back and I look at July, August, September. I mean, he really failed down the stretch. July, he hit 198. August, better, 260. And then in September, the worst, 184. I think you got to look to trade Cronenworth, in my opinion. Okay. Then you go to behind the plate. Kyle Higashioka made $2.18 million this past year. He's going to get a raise, but I saw the other day somebody said, well, Higashioka, who's going to be 35 years of age, could get a 2-year deal for $15 million. Are you kidding me? 2 years, $15 million for a backup catcher? I don't buy it. I know he hit 17 home runs, but I'm not buying that. I mean, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And then you got Luis Camposano. Do you want to go that road again? I don't know. That's the decision the Padres are going to have to make. Elias Diaz, free agent, 33. You want to bring him back on a bargain basement deal. So, I mean, you need a left fielder. You got to figure out what you're doing at short and second. You know, whoever doesn't play, if Bogarts doesn't play short, he's playing second. And if he plays short, then you got to find a second baseman. Maybe it's Cronenworth. I don't know what they're going to do. And then behind the plate, major concerns. You got to have a couple of catchers now because none of these guys catch 145, 150 games like the old days. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Okay, right now, and we're going to get to your questions after our guest, but we like to do this on Friday because he's really dialed in with the high schools, but he's also dialed in with the Padres. I mentioned the other day, for many years, he's the guy when they flash on the scoreboard, hit or error. A lot of nights, he's the guy deciding if it's a hit or error. He's score keeps for Major League Baseball and covers the Padres, obviously, in their home games. Our buddy from the San Diego Union Tribune, John Maffei, joins us. And, well, I'll tell you, if people don't really realize the pressure that's on the official scorer when you sit in that seat. You've been doing it a long time. You've seen how that position has changed over the years. And, boy, my hats are off to you. I'm surprised you have as much hair as you do.
John, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of pressure. You're bearing down from first pitch to the last because every pitch is a potential play. You know, whether it's a base hit, error, pass ball, wild pitch. You're bearing down.
How has it changed for you over the years?
Well, it's better now. Everything is electronic. The box score is electronic. We actually have a team of 3 that work together, and I'm the official scorer along with Bill Zavostowski and Brittany Womack. But we have what we call the boss, and the boss stands for balls out, strikes, and something. It's he's not the boss. That's just the acronym. And then we have the stringer, and we work in concert. The stringer puts together the box. So after the game, where we used to have to manually write in every at bat and the box score that you see in the paper, now it's electronic. It would take anywhere from 45 minutes on a 1-0 shutout to 2 hours if it was a 13-10 12 inning game, and now it takes a matter of 15 minutes to look at that box score because you can check it as you go. And, so that's the biggest change.
Hey, John, let me ask you this, and then I want to get talking a little bit about the Padres. I mean, you spent a lot of time down there at Petco Park. You also covered the Padres for many, many years and had a great association with Bruce Bochy and Tony Gwynn and the whole crew. And you know that organization really as well as anybody. Even though you don't cover the Padres, you get more information by accident than most people get by covering them on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, as a scorekeeper, how has it changed? Because I remember in the old days, manager or pitching coach, they may call up to the press box and ask their PR guy, hey, you need to go talk to that scorekeeper. That should have been an error. Can they take a look at it? How has that changed, or has it changed?
It really has. The process is still kind of the same. Now the player will usually go through the PR department, and they'll call up. And there are certain players on the Padres who question plays more than others, and that's their right. If they think and a lot of they're shoot, I was a bad hitter when I played. You were a lot better hitter, but we were all begging for base hits. So you really can't blame them. And and pitchers will you're almost throwing your teammate under the bus, but you're asking for an error on the shortstop, so those runs are unearned rather than earned. But usually it'll go through the PR guys, and pretty much everybody that I've dealt with, excuse me, PR wise, is very professional. They don't come down and say, hey, you stupid idiot, my third baseman, wants a base hit on that. They'll come down and go, hey, will you take a look at that? and we will. And we have the ability to go back and look at plays, and New York we can send it back to New York and ask them to look at it from several different angles. And if the player wants to protest it, or then it goes to a 3-man committee at MLB, and their decision is final.
Well, that's good. I think for a lot of the fans tuning in, that's very interesting for them to know how that works. Okay, let's talk about the Padres this week. A lot going on at the general managers, meetings, and then they'll have the winter meetings in December. But kind of give me your total assessment of the 2024 season. What you thought of the Padres, and what areas you think they need to get better in 2025.
Well, I thought it was a great season. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to be at the ballpark. I'll sell out almost every night, and there's no getting to the ballpark, a half hour before the game anymore. But you're not going to get a parking spot, and we have to be there at least an hour and a half before every game to check in. So and I'm and I'm an early bird, so I'm there at least 2 hours, before a game. Getting out is kind of tough, but that's a product of having a good product on the field. People are coming out. They were very entertaining. I enjoyed it. I didn't always agree with Mike Shildt, but as you well know, the manager, the coach, nobody knows his team better than that man. So when we're thinking, boy, this is a bunt situation, or he's got to go get this guy, he knows his team better than anybody else. So I thought he did a very good job. As far as positions, there's a lot of good players coming back, but there's a lot of question marks. And I heard, Higashioka, I would bring him back, but maybe not at the price that's rumored. First base, what do you do at shortstop? What do you do at second base? What are you going to do in left field? Starting pitching. There's still a lot of questions, but that's why AJ Preller's back at the general managers meetings trying to get this figured out.
Profar, when you look at his career, his best years have been in San Diego. I didn't realize that when he was with Colorado, I knew he was bad, and he was so bad they DFA'd him in that August. But I didn't realize, by all the analytical stats in that, he was considered the worst player in baseball at that time. And then the Padres signed him to that minor league deal, and I said, I still had the radio show, and I said, well, as soon as he got DFA'd, I go, the Padres will re-sign him. Well, like 2 days later, once he cleared waivers, they signed him. Next thing you know, he's back in the big leagues, and then in 2024, he has this monster year.
Yes, and he's a good player, and what they have to figure out, and what he has to figure out, what's he worth? He played on a $1 million contract this year, and certainly he's worth more than that. But is he an $8 million player, $10 million player, $12 million player? Where does he fall? And that's something that the club and Jurickson need to figure out.
I mean, to me, I think he's an $8 million player. Okay,
I agree.
And if you recall, that's about what he was going to make before he opted out of the final 2 years of his contract to sign with Colorado, and he basically got $8 million for 1 year there.
Yes, and his he was red hot for a while there, and look at his numbers towards the end of the season. They were still good, but he wasn't a $12 million player. So I think somewhere in the $8 to $10 million range is where he falls. And are the Padres willing to gamble $12 million that he can replicate this season?
John, let me ask you about Jackson Merrill, because I mean you covered the Padres for a long time, but you also covered their minor leagues for a long time, and you'd spend a lot of time mapping out what they were doing in the minor leagues, and you saw all the big rookies they've had here. I mean, from obviously Tony Gwynn to Kevin McReynolds to Benito Santiago to Fernando Tatis Jr. now to Jackson Merrill. I mean, let's face it, this kid had the best rookie year in the history of the Padre organization.
Yes, and who saw it coming? To ask a guy, and in the history of baseball, there have been a lot of shortstops who have gone to center field, or center fielders who have come into shortstop. It's kind of a interchangeable position athletically. If you can play one, you can play the other. But to ask him to do it without any background, hey, we're going to hit you some fly balls in center field and see what you can do. That was incredible. That offensively, yes, but his defense was superb. And I think all those people that you mentioned, Kevin McReynolds, when he was a rookie, if you were back then, they were in Yuma, and you could tell when Kevin McReynolds was taking batting practice because the ball made a different sound off his bat. He was that much different than everybody else. Santiago was ahead of his time as a defensive catcher and that athletic catcher. So and I think if Jackson Merrill keeps his head screwed on and knock on wood, doesn't get hurt, he's got a chance to have a great future.
John, when you look at the Padres going forward, obviously they got Tatis under a long-term contract, Machado, Bogarts. Right now they have Jake Cronenworth under a contract, and I know you were just ready to come on when I was talking about Cronenworth. He's going to make over a 7-year period through 2030, $80 million. I think they got to seriously think about moving him. What do you think?
Well, I don't disagree, but as you well know, and our old friend Kevin Towers, it takes two people to dance, and you have to have a dance partner. Who is going to take Jake Cronenworth on for what the Padres are paying him? There are teams I'm sure that would want him, but not at what the Padres are paying him. So. And Jake delivers. He's very well liked. He's a good defender, but where does he fit? First, second is rise of first base and a DH. Who plays second? Who plays short? I think you're going to have to live with Jake because I don't think there's going to be a taker for him.
Well, I think the only way you get a taker is if you get multiple players involved in the deal, and that means you probably have to give up one of your top prospects.
Right. And you may have to pay part of his salary.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to jump over to Aztec football here. The Aztecs very, very well. Once upon a time, you were down there with Don Coryell and Claude Gilbert, kind of the glory days of Aztec football. And, where they're at right now, I know being an Aztec alum, you're not happy. But your thoughts on what you've seen early on from Sean Lewis and, what did you expect going in, and tell me what you think right now.
I honestly didn't expect much, and we haven't seen much. This as fast offense that they have has not developed, and that's not a knock on Sean Lewis because I think they have the right guy. They needed an infusion of young blood. They needed a younger, more enthusiastic guy, and from what I've seen, he's the right guy. You can't judge him on this season. They've taken some steps, but it's obvious they're nowhere close to Boise, Washington State. You got to give this guy 3 years, and I think the Aztecs are a little delusional if they think they're going to draw 38,000 or whatever, to go out and see a team that's going to get their fannies whipped. And the people will come back once there's a product on the field. And I like I said, I think they have the right guy. He just needs time.
Well, Friday night games going against high school games is not a recipe to draw a crowd. I can tell you that. That's not the Aztecs' fault. That's just the way things go.
I hate it. I hate it. Play on Saturday. Like everybody else. And like you said, it's not the Aztecs' fault. It's the conference and TV that dictate when you play. But let the high schools play on Friday night and you play on Saturday.
Yeah, there's enough of college football on. We got college football on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Take Friday night off. Let the high schools be in the limelight, and then pick it up on with all the great games on Saturday. Let's talk about high school football. Last week we had you on. It was the last night of the regular season. They had the not really a seating meeting. Everything kind of gets kicked out of a computer now. And that was on Sunday. And let's talk just about how did it go from your standpoint as far as all the pairings and rankings. Were there any glitches? Did it go smooth?
The meeting took maybe 20 minutes.
Wow.
And if you remember, and there were meetings, and this was a couple of decades ago. The system was that you came down to when the CIF office was at the Board of Education. You came down to Linda Vista, and there was an advisory committee, and you got 3 minutes to speak. And the testosterone in that room was unbelievable. Big old Rob Gilster up there, talking about Valley Center and the veteran coaches, and Jim Arnaiz and John Shacklet pleading their case. And and the meetings would take 4 hours, and there were voting blocks, and it was terrible, and what that has proved now, as they've gone to max preps and to power rankings, and now to Cal preps, there is no perfect system. And as long as we have 64 teams in the playoffs, 64 out of 83, you're going to have teams with losing records. It's just, and this year was an exceptionally bad year at the bottom. We have a lot of good teams at the top. The open division's fine. D1 is Division I, really good Division I. Division II is good, but boy, at the bottom, when you have an 0-10 team, we have 2 0-10 teams with home games.
Wow.
That's not right. I talked to Ross Johnson.
They shouldn't even be in the playoffs, first of all.
They shouldn't be in the playoffs, but by the CIF rule, and everybody goes, well, they shouldn't be in. They have to be in, because it's a CIF bylaw. In order for them to say you have to have X number of wins. Let's say it's 3-7 or 4-6, or even 5-5. They have to change the bylaws, and that's a whole process. With the CIF has to go before coordinating council, and and it's going to take at least 6 months, if not a year, to get that changed. But that's not that's not Cal Preps' fault. That's not Max Preps' fault or anybody else's fault. It's a product of the system. And this year we had a lot of teams with 1-9, 2-8. 2-8 Ramona got a bye, and in the first round. I love Damon Baldwin in the Ramona program, but like you said, they probably shouldn't be in the playoffs, but now they're ranked. They're a number 1 seed, and they get in Division IV and get a bye.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I read in your column the other day, Rancho Buena Vista, they had a rough year. I think they won 2 or 3 games.
One.
They how many?
1.
They won 1. Okay. They said, no, we don't want to go to the playoffs. You know what? I tip my hat to them.
Yes, and you have that option. And what like I said, when I talked to Ross Johnson at Fallbrook, they're 0-10. And he goes, his quote was, "It's ridiculous that we're in the playoffs." He goes, "But we are in the playoffs, and I'm going to embrace it. And it gives me a chance to look at my JV players. The JV players are going to come up and practice with the varsity. And, and maybe we unearth a gem in that practice is something that when that kid moves up a level and plays with the big boys, maybe we see something that we didn't see before." And so he said, and they have a chance to win a game, and, they have a chance to win their division. And, so I think he has the right attitude that, hey, we're 0-10, but we're in this thing, and we're going to go out and try to win some games.
Well, we'll keep our eye on Fallbrook and see if they can win that game or even win the division. Okay, tonight, where are the big games tonight for the fans that want to head out?
there's not great command games. I'm going to Del Norte at Oceanside, and I think probably the best games are the 8-9 seeds. They're the ones that are pretty much even. The 7-10 games are always pretty good, but I'm kind of intrigued by the Mount Miguel Santa Fe Christian game.
Oh, that could be a real good one.
Santa Fe Christian, very disciplined team, running the wing tee, and Mount Miguel, very athletic team. So if Santa Fe Christian can keep the ball, and have 8-10 minute drives, they've got a chance. I think Mount Miguel gets them because they're just more athletic, but don't sell Santa Fe Christian short in that game. Scripps Ranch Torrey Pines, I think, is going to be, I have all the respect in the world for Marlon Gardenera at Scripps Ranch. And I have a quiz for you. What Marlon Gardenera, the football coach at Scripps Ranch, he was a baseball player at Oklahoma State.
Right.
What did he do on the last swing of his career?
Probably hit a grand slam home run.
Off of who?
I don't know.
Mark Kotze in the
Is
College
that right,
World
in the
Series.
College World Series?
Yes.
Wow.
How about that?
That's a great one. Of course, he played at Mission Bay for Dennis Pugh.
Yes. So that Marlon, a great high school and college baseball player, and now he won a state championship of coaching football at Scripps, and now he's 9-1 and has come around again, and they're at Torrey Pines again. I think a really good offensive team in Scripps against a very good defensive team in Torrey Pines, and we'll see if Marlon can figure out a way to score enough points to win that game.
And next week, the Open Division, they're off tonight.
Yes.
And next week you got the Open Division, and boy, that Cathedral game at La Costa Canyon is going to be something to see.
That's going to be a barn burner, I think. And what's nice is, with the week off, every other division is 12 teams, and it's a 16-team bracket, but the top 4 teams get a bye. But in the Open Division, it's only 4 teams, so they get a bye this week. Then they'll play the championship game, and then they get a bye again before the Southern Cal Regionals. But you get a chance to give your team a little time off. You get a chance to reload a little bit, get healthy. And I think the big thing for for La Costa Canyon is if their star player, Kobe Herman, who they call Agent Zero because he wears number 0, if Kobe Herman is 100%, that's going to be a barn burner. If
he played last week against Torrey Pines, and at times he looked 100%, but as the game went on, you could tell it was starting to stiffen up a little bit. And we'll talk about it next week even more. But the other game in the Open Division next Friday night, you got 2 great programs in Mission Hills and Lincoln, but you got 2 quarterbacks that are big name guys. I mean, Troy Hune, the quarterback at Mission Hills, committed to Penn State.
Yep.
Achilles Smith Jr. committed to Oregon. I mean, that's going to be a hell of a game.
That's going to be a barn burner, and Lincoln has to be a prohibitive favorite in that game. And they're big, they're fast, and they are very well coached. People who think, they're Lincoln, they're just a bunch of guys, Pop Warner guys that come out and coach them. They're not, Lincoln is very well coached, but so is Mission Hills. And the defensive coordinator at Mission Hills, Thomas Altieri, is as good as it gets. And let's see if Thomas can cook something up to keep Achilles Smith, the quarterback, is a little bit like Reggie Bush, and I'm not Reggie. Yeah. The most dangerous thing with Achilles is if you flush him out of the pocket. He's a great pocket passer, but he is 6'6", and he eats up yards with those long strides. And if you flush him out, and Cathedral had him flushed, had him trapped 4 or 5 times, flushed him, and he picked up a first down every time. And that to me was the difference in the game.
Well, John, enjoy your game at the legendary Simcox Field. What a night. The first round of the playoffs, you're going to one of the great stadiums in the county with so much history behind it. Going into Simcox Field is always a lot of fun.
It is, and they have great hot dogs there.
Hey, thanks again. We'll check in next Friday.
Great, thank you.
There you go. John Maffei from the Union Tribune talking Padres, talking Aztec football. Again, the Aztecs play tonight, 7:30 at Snapdragon Stadium. And I didn't even want to approach the situation with John regarding the turf. Well, what's the turf going to look like tonight at Snapdragon Stadium? And, of course, we talked high school football with him. We'll do that again next Friday. Okay, we're going to get out to some questions. This is my favorite part of the show. I can sit here and talk for 40 minutes. I can interview guests, but I love when you folks send me these questions. Hey, Coach, would love to see Alex Verdugo as a Padre opening day in left field. Can you see this happening? Backup option would be trading for Randy Arozarena or kicking the tires on Anthony Santander. Boy, I'm going to tell you something. Number one, Randy Arozarena had a miserable year. Ended up getting traded. Didn't do a good job really in Tampa, and wasn't really any better other than that one long home run he hit for the Mariners. Didn't really perform. I don't know what his price tag is. I don't even know if he's available right now. We'll have to wait and see. Verdugo would be a nice fit. I thought he did a good job with the Yankees. I always liked him when he was with the Dodgers. He was still trying to figure things out. Then he had back problems when he was with Boston. And I thought he did a really nice job for the Yankees. I would like to see him. I think he's a good player. I think he's a better player than Profar, quite frankly. But everybody's going to look at Profar's year this year and compare that. But you look at the full body of work. Verdugo's had a very, very nice career and still a very young player. But Anthony Santander, nobody knows who this guy is. He had over 40 home runs this last year for Baltimore. He's a hell of a player. He's going to get a big contract. He's probably going to get $20 million a year. The other guy that's probably going to get $20 million a year, and I'm anxious to see if the Dodgers are going to bring him back. That's Teoscar Hernandez. I saw the other day, maybe 3 years, $60 million. I think the Dodgers could afford to bring him back at $20 million a year. He wants to be a Dodger. Maybe he'll take a little bit of a discount. I don't think he's going to take a big discount because it's going to be his one opportunity to cash in. But Verdugo, I wouldn't mind seeing him at all. Arozarena, I like personally. I like him, but I'm not sure you need him here. Another right-handed bat with Verdugo. You got a left-handed bat. Santander, he's a tremendous talent. I wouldn't mind seeing him, but I think the price tag is far, far too high for San Diego. But Friar Juanito, San Diego, thank you very much. I very much appreciate that. Getting back to Cronenworth, I want your opinion. I mean, would you trade Jake? And John brings up a great point. I mean, John said, Jake's a hard worker. He's well liked. There's no doubt about it. He is a great guy. I like him. I'm not trying to run him out of town. Believe me, I'm not trying to run him out of town in any way, shape, or form. But you only have so much money to go around, and this team needs a lot. They need a left fielder. They would need a first baseman, but you try to work that into your deal. And then you got to figure out what you're doing behind the plate and with the starting rotation. The bullpen, I think, is going to be okay. I think the bullpen will be okay. Neil, are scorekeepers allowed to cheer? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They got to be impartial. And, John covered the Padres for years. He worked for the Escondido Times Advocate, and he worked for the Oceanside Blade Tribune. And then when they merged, he took a job with the San Diego Union Tribune. He's written for Baseball America, and he's been an official scorekeeper for years. Now you can't. You gotta play it straight down the line. He's actually employed by Major League Baseball, not by the Padres. But that'll answer that question. But when players or coaches they want to call the press box, they normally go through their PR guy, and then if it gets to a point where they need to, they'll fill out a request of, will you take a look at this play? Breaking news: Ruben Niebla, new multi-year deal finalized, reported by our buddy Kevin Acey. Not surprised. Not surprised. And I would certainly think they're going to work out a deal with Victor Rodriguez to tack on at least one, if not 2 more years. So Ruben's back. Ruben wanted to be back. I talked about it on Wednesday's podcast. He wanted to be back with the Padres. You know, a guy that grew up down in the Imperial Valley, Calexico High School. Got a great family. They got a place here, got a place down in the Imperial Valley. Good stuff. So I'm very happy Ruben Niebla is coming back on a new multi-year deal. And again, that was reported by our buddy Kevin Acey from the Union Tribune. Joshua, what's up, Coach? With the Hosmer contract ending next season, who do you think they can utilize those funds for? Hopefully, Arise. You know, Arise probably going to make what, 13 million. He's going to probably get at least 13 million this year. And Hosmer, in the final year of his deal, I think is going to get a check for 12 and a half to do his podcast. He's not like me. I need to get some sponsors. I need some sponsors on my show. Okay. But Hosmer, he's doing a podcast. He doesn't, I don't know if he has sponsors or not, but you know what? He doesn't need sponsors. Why? Because he's getting $12.5 million from the Padres. Hey, Hos, can you help her brother out? Can you help her brother out? Hey, if you're out there and want to sponsor the program, let me know. Would love to take you on if you want to make a good commitment to the program. We would love to have you aboard. We could even do remotes out of your business, believe it or not. All right, Kirsten, Ruben Niebla back with the Padres. That's on fire. You know what? There are a lot of guys today that are in the Padre organization, both at the major and minor league level, pitchers that are very, very happy to hear that. So that's good stuff. Kirsten Wright, how about Pete Alonso? Pete Alonso is going to cost a lot of money. And Pete Alonso is a 240 hitter. Yeah, he hits some home runs. But I got a better one for you. It might be cheaper. What about Christian Walker on a decent deal? Now, Christian Walker is 34 years of age with the Arizona Diamondback, 3-time Gold Glove winner at first base. How about Christian Walker? He hits bombs. He drives in a lot of runs, and he's a better hitter than Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso's a slugger. And Christian Walker, it took him a long time to really get his feet on the ground at the big league level. But boy, the last 5-6 years, he's had him on the ground big time. Hell of a player. Finally made an all-star team this year. But a 3-time Gold Glove winner, won it again this year. Hits bombs, drives in runs, catalyst. How many times has he burned the Padres over the last few years? He's a free agent. I would think Arizona do everything in their power to keep Christian Walker. We'll have to wait and see, but I kind of like that. Neil, coach, who's a better coach, Balls or Ruben? I can't say. And the reason I can't say is, number one, I know Darren Balsley a lot better than I know Ruben Niebla, and I've watched Darren Balsley work. I haven't been in bullpen sessions with Ruben, but I've talked to guys that work with him, and they love him. But Darren Balsley was a special guy. And Darren Balsley, if he wanted to be, he'd be back in baseball, but he lives in Tennessee. I'll probably talk to him at Christmas time. He called me a few months ago. We had about an hour and a half conversation. We hadn't talked in a long time. I think both of them are right at the top of their profession. And Darren probably never going to get back into baseball. If he does, maybe do some scouting. But I think his days of wanting to be a pitching coach. He's got a beautiful family, lives on a lake in Tennessee, and just enjoying life and raising his family. And his kids are doing great. D, you're the best coach. I listen to you from Los Angeles, and I'm a big Dodgers fan. D, I appreciate that. If you love ball, you're going to like my show. I don't care if you're an Angel fan, Dodger fan, Mariners fan. Not that we're going to talk about the Seattle Mariners or the Chicago White Sox, but if you love baseball, you're going to like my program. And if you love sports, you're going to love my show because I'm a sports guy, and that's all I've ever tried to be. Okay, I'm not a bells and whistles guy. If you want farting and snorting, go to a different show. Go listen to some of the talk shows on radio these days. Guys, they know about as much about sports as I know about being an atomic scientist, some of the programs that I've seen and listened to. I mean, I'm amazed that some guys can get on the air, and I don't like to bang on people. But, man, whether it's on TV or radio, sports talk right now is really kind of at an all-time low. I mean, there's some really good shows out there, but, man, there's some real garbage out there. Real garbage. It's amazing to me. That's why this YouTube thing has really worked for me because I can have almost more of an engagement without all the garbage. Okay. And I mean, I've worked with some really, really good people over the years, some of the best in the history of sports talk radio. And, I learned right from the grassroots how to go about it. But man, I listen to stuff now. These guys, I think they just open the paper in the morning and they come in and bullshit about whatever they want to talk about. That it's not necessarily what the audience wants. I want to talk about what you want. But like I said, if you're a sports fan or a baseball fan, you're going to always like my program. Uh, Friar Juanito, SD, love your show as always. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. Neil, will the Padres try to bring back Fried? No, they're not going to be able to afford Fried. I saw last night, I was watching my buddy Jake Peavy. He was on with Brian Kenny, who sometimes I can take or leave on the MLB network. I left it on. They kept rerunning the same show for like 3 hours. And I kept the same show on for 3 hours. I was doing work for today's show, and I didn't really want to tune in and listen to ESPN. When I first got into sports talk radio, I got to tell you, I used to watch ESPN morning, noon, and night. A Sports Center, it was a you can't miss it. I very, very rarely ever watch it. I mean, maybe after the Monday Night Football game with Scott Van Pelt, I think he's really good and he does a really nice job. But most of the sports centers just garbage. But I last night I watched the MLB Network and I just kept the same show on. Of course, Jake, I got a long history with Jake, great guy. I always enjoyed my relationship with him when he was with the Padres. I got a chance this last summer to reconnect when he was in San Diego. And they're talking about different people and this and that, but some of these prices on these players they're just outrageous, and you can't pay that kind of money. That's why you have to develop your own players. You got to develop your own players. All right, we're going to get out of here. I want everyone to have a great weekend. We got Aztec football Friday night, 7:30, Snapdragon Stadium. Hopefully they'll have a decent crowd. A lot of high school football. You can look in the Union Tribune. They had all the games and matchups. I'm probably going to watch my high school tonight, Torrey Pines. Went and watched them last week. They got beat 28-0 by rival La Costa Canyon, who's 10-0. They got a really good team, really good team. And Torrey hosted a home game tonight against Scripps Ranch. So we'll go to that. Got volleyball going down to Southwestern College. My granddaughter plays on the Torrey Pines team. They're taking on Cathedral Catholic in the Open Division title on Saturday night, and then watch a little NFL football on Sunday. And we'll be back in bright and early on Monday morning at 9:30. Again, I'd like you to, if you're tuning in for the first time, please subscribe to the program. Doesn't cost anything. Make sure your notifications are on. Also, you can follow me on Facebook at John Quintera and on X at Coach Quintera 44. Until Monday morning at 9:30, have a great and happy and safe weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.